Hello again. I'm going to do another tutorial using the knitting swatch from the previous tutorials. On this one I'm going to show you how to do a cable using a cable needle, and there's usually two types of cable. There'll be cable to the front and cable to the back, so I'll show you how to do each one on this tutorial. I'm using the 4.5mm needles with a double knit yarn, which is a little bit bigger than you would normally use on a pattern, but it's just easier to show you with that size of needle. So to start, you would normally find that the cables will carry on from the knit one purl one rib, so I'm going to start from that rib to show you how the cables worked. So normally the first row would be a stocking stitch with a purl, because you'll normally find that you've got two purl stitches at either side of a cable. The cables are done on the knit side. So we start off working the first row, which will be to knit 2, and then we're going to bring the yarn forward and we're going to purl 2. Oops. There's 1 and 2. The cable will form into the next 4 stitches, so the next 4 will be knit. So we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. I'm now going to purl 4 stitches. This is so that we've got a purl 2 at the side of each of the cables. And then I'm going to knit 4, I'm going to purl 2, and then I'm going to knit 2. So on the wrong side, it's just a simple case of knitting the knit stitches and purling the purl stitches. You'll be able to see on the wrong side which stitch is which. So if we've got the horizontal stitches, they're going to be a purl. If we've got the V stitches, they're going to be the knit. So the first 2 stitches are going to be purl stitches. So we've got 1 and 2, yarn around, and then we're going to knit 2, yarn back to the front, and then purl 4. This is where the cable is going to lay on the right side. 3 and 4. I'm going to knit 4, I'm going to purl 2, sorry, purl 4, knit 2, and purl the last 2. There's 1 and 2. So you can now see that we've got a definite pattern is already forming. So the next row will be the cable row, and the cable row will usually be every 4th row and always on the right side. So I'll show you first of all how to do a cable to the front. So we're going to knit the first 2 stitches, and then we'll purl the 2 stitches that fall before the cable stitch. And the purls at either side of the cable will actually make the cable panel quite defined. So we're now going to slip the next 2 stitches onto the cable needle, and we're going to sit them at the front of the work, and this is a cable to the front. We're now going to put the yarn to the back because we're doing knit stitches, and we're going to knit the next 2 stitches. So there we've got 1 and 2. We're now going to knit these 2 stitches that are held on the cable needle. So we can hold the cable needle, bring these stitches to the point, and using the cable needle as if it's the knitting needle, we're now going to knit these 2 stitches. There's 1 and there's 2. We go back to the rest of the knitting. We're going to purl the next 4 stitches. We've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. Again, we need to take the yarn to the back, and we're now going to cable to the back. So again, we're going to slip these 2 stitches, the next 2 stitches, onto the cable needle, and this time we're going to put those 2 stitches to the back of the work. We now knit the next 2 stitches, and then we take the cable needle, just pull that along a little bit, and we're going to knit the 2 stitches from the cable. So there we've got 1 and 2. We then come back to the rest of the knitting that's on the left needle, bring the yarn to the front, we're going to purl 2 stitches, and we're going to knit the last 2 stitches. So now we've got the start of the 2 cable panels. You won't be able to see them too clearly yet, but after the next row you'll be able to see how the stitches have twisted to the left and to the right, depending whether you do the cable from the back or the front. So the next row is again just going to be to purl the purl stitches and knit the knit stitches. So I'll work this row off camera and I'll meet you when we get to the end. I've now knitted the knit stitches, purled the purl stitches on the wrong side. So the next row, because we're only going to do the cable stitch every 4th row, we're now going to work 2 rows where we just knit the knit stitches and purl the purl stitches, and you'll see a definite cable forming on the cable rows. So just quickly knit and purl the stitches as before. I'm using the same swatch as before, so we've got the 20 stitches and I've worked the cables to be equal on this particular swatch, but on a pattern you would just follow the knit and the purl stitches according to the pattern that you're using, but use the front and back cable stitch as I've shown here. So we've got 2 knit, 2 purl, and then on the cable stitch this row we're just going to work 4 knit stitches. If we were to do another cable now, the cable would look a little bit too tight. So it is usually every 4th row, as I say, or it might even be every 6 rows, depending where the cables form on the pattern. I've got 4 purls. And then we'll knit the 4 on the cable panel. Purl 2, and knit the last 2. So you can now definitely see the cable pattern. And the one to the front will slant over to the left, the one worked from the back will slant over to the right. I'll work the wrong side row again off camera to keep the tutorial shorter. What I'm going to do is just purl the purl stitches and knit the knit stitches. So now we've done 3 rows since we did the cable stitch, so the next row will be a cable row again, and I'll just go through it one more time just to show how it's done. So the first 2 stitches, as always, are going to be the 2 knit stitches. The next 2 are purl stitches. And then the next 2 stitches we're going to slip onto the cable needle, and we'll bring those to the front, yarn around and work the 2 knit stitches, and then we're going to work the 2 stitches now from the cable needle. There's 1 and 2. We're going to work 4 purls over the next 4 purl stitches, and then the next cable is cable to the back, so we take the 2 stitches onto the cable needle and sit those to the back of the work, yarn around the needle, knit the 2 stitches, and then we're going to knit those 2 stitches from the cable needle. There's 1 and 2, and then we've got the 2 purl stitches and the 2 knit stitches. So we can see now why the purl stitches are quite important either side of a cable, because it does give a much more defined cable panel. So you'll usually find that you've got purl stitches at either side. You may have also knit stitches as well in between, but there will always be at least 1 or 2 purl stitches at either side of a cable stitch. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you found it useful. Please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.